What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Seton Hill Studios. Hope your day is going amazing. We're back for part 2 of Dan Vasc, Dawn of Victory. This time we're looking at the most recent version, and this time it's actually featuring the lead singer from the band that originally did this song, Rhapsody. So it's featuring Fabio Lione. Hopefully I said that right. If I butchered it, roast me in the comments. I'm terrible at this. But I'm excited. The first version was from like 7 years ago. It was epic. For what it was. Great production from the audio side. You know, he was only working with, I think, 1 or 2 camera angles, doing everything himself back then. But like I said, I love that he just went for it, put himself out there, and it's paid dividends because he's absolutely huge on YouTube right now. About to hit 1 million subscribers. Couldn't be more excited for him. I hope it comes sooner rather than later, and I'm excited to check out this version. This was also a request from one of our Patreon members, Linda. Again, thank you so much. I'm excited to get into the other piece of this, and I'm definitely glad that you donated to make this video happen, because I'm honestly, it's been cool to see. This is, again, my first real introduction to Dan Vasc. Steven's done a few reaction videos to his other stuff, but for me, hearing Dawn of Victory in the other video was really the first time that I had a chance to sit with Dan, and I was blown away at his vocal range, his production ability, programming, instruments. It was just all good. He's the real deal. All right, but before we get into it, few ways that you guys can continue to support the channel. Right here on YouTube, you can become a channel member, or you can scoot on over to Patreon and become a member there. Either one of those is going to get you access to all sorts of features and exclusive perks. And as always, with a one-time donation through Buy Me a Coffee, you can also get a priority request, guarantee that one of us will watch and react to a video of your choosing. Never expected, but always appreciated. Again, Linda, thank you so much. She's one of our patrons. She made this video happen today, but let's not keep talking. Let's get into it. All right, y'all, here we go. We're looking at the most updated version of Dan Vasc, this time featuring Fabio Lione doing Dawn of Victory, originally by Rhapsody. So this is an updated version, I think, from a year or 2 ago. And this time, the lead singer from Rhapsody was coming through where Dan lives and brought him by the new studio and featured him in this new updated version of his cover. This time, no MIDI VSTs. It looks like it's his band Fearless doing all the instrumentation, which is great. Looked like in the credits that Dan produced it and he mixed it. He directed the video. He sang the lead vocals. He's doing it all, and I'm sure he's doing it crazy well to a high standard. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm excited to hear this updated version. I hear stuff like this, and like the previous version was programmed, right? So I'm like, okay, you know, there's not a real person behind the drum kit, you know, wearing their legs out, trying to keep up with the stamina of that double bass, or trying to keep up, you know, with the technique that it's required to play that riff, and especially on the bass as well. And you know, it's a good song when I literally just listened to it, because we wanted to do these 2 videos back to back for Linda and get a reaction of hearing them both. And so like I literally just listened to the other version, and you know it's a good song when you turn it back on and you're just right back into it. It's just good. This is awesome. This is a great tune.
The battlefield when our world is fighting the war of the kings. The army of God on the thunder the sword, so people come the brave and the strong. No time left to
So hearing this original guy, who I guess it was part of the band that originally wrote and recorded this song, and then hearing him coming in right after Dan did a great job being himself and bringing what he has to the table while also honoring this guy in the song. And you can hear right out of the gate the influence, obviously, that this guy had on Dan and his vocals, and probably in his music, and just his love for metal as well. I love this other guy's voice. But they sound so good together. I'm sure later in the video we're going to get into some stuff where they're singing together, which I think will be super cool. But hearing them back to back, each take a lead part there, they sound phenomenal. And they each have their own kind of flavor to their voice, which I think is super cool. But they both, like, I could, no wonder Dan did such a good version of this. I mean, they either one could have been the lead singer of this band and gotten away with it and absolutely crushed it. And man, you can really hear the influence even after just hearing the Fabio singing just a couple lines into this song. You can hear the influence that he obviously had on Dan. Killer vocalist. The band are ace. I guess this is Fearless, right? According to the credits and the description, like, this is Dan's band, which I've never heard any of their original stuff. I'm assuming they probably have some original stuff as well as like the covers and things that they do on YouTube. But man, they're ace. Every single one of them is absolutely killer. We're like a minute and 8 seconds into the song, and I'm like sweating just listening to it. The stamina that's required to keep up this pace is wild. And so I have mad respect for the musicianship and the stamina of these guys. They're absolutely killer. You just look how excited Dan is. It's like a kid in a candy shop. It would be like me stepping on stage and playing guitar with like Eric Johnson or John Petrucci. Like, I'd be giddy as a schoolgirl if I'm being honest. I don't even know I'd be able to play. But like, you could see it, like he's so happy to be singing with this dude and have this guy featured on a song that obviously inspired him so much, and a band that inspired him so much. I love it, man. A lot of times people are like, oh, don't meet your heroes. But from the looks of this, Dan looks like he had a completely different experience where he met his hero and it worked out well for him. So that's super cool, man. I'm really glad to see it. It's so awesome. And his video production quality, obviously we're going from like 1 or 2 camera shots, may have even been like a camera phone in the previous video, to this. It looks like it's a whole cinematic experience now, and he directed it, so he's clearly been learning over the last 6 or 7 years in between these 2 videos. This is top tier videography as well. This is fantastic. Dan's the man. I know it sounds cliche, but I mean, he is. That double bass, man, takes some real stamina. There's my horns. There was my horns. I thought I missed them. I may have been talking and running my mouth in the intro, but there was my horns. That was the first thing that caught my attention in the other video. I was like, is that horns in a metal song? So I'm glad they made another guest appearance. I want to hear him again. I'm going to take it back. I really do love that. It's so cool to me to just hear a random horn section in a metal song, and it works. On top of like the cool violin stuff that was in there earlier, that was awesome as well. Just incorporating a lot of elements that you wouldn't think normally belong in a metal song, and not only do they sound like they belong, they sound killer, like they were always meant to be there. I love it.
The ride of the down and the practice of pain is mounting in him as a terrific way. You're closer and closer and I follow the smell. With your holy arm I can steal your hair. Flying angel of bloody
player got the power stance going on. So this is where like the cool stuff comes in, like with the videography, where he's obviously been learning, paying attention, and growing over the years in between these two videos. So the set is extremely simple, right? You got a few big, bright backlights. Obviously, there's face lighting on the front of them, but it's just, you see all the haze going, and it's just like black backgrounds. Very simple, but it's extremely effective. It keeps the focus on the musicians. It's not distracting, and it just creates a whole atmosphere. And there's little subtle stuff that you see too. Like if you go, like I'm going to go back to where that kick drum, there was like the close up on the kick drum. I don't know where it was. I probably went back too far. Maybe not. Either way, it's all worth listening to. I don't mind to go back too far. But if you see when you do the close-up on the kick drum and there's all the different camera shake happening, like you could stabilize that, but it's cool that it's shaking like you're down there, like just getting pounded like the kick drum. It's super cool. So just watch for that. I'll point it out when it pops back up, unless I didn't find it. And if not, when we just move along.
That's a terrific way. You're closer and closer and I follow the smell. With your holy armor, steal your hair. Flying angel of bloody repaint for answer.
So it was right there. That was cool. It was very short, very subtle, but it was awesome. They all look like they're having the time of their lives. Should be this basic guitar line. Oh man. And they hit that bend together perfectly at the end too. Shoo-wee. So that sweep picking stuff was no joke. That was quick. That whole section kind of reminds me of almost like some Yngwie Malmsteen stuff, which to me is a high compliment. Yngwie's a crazy talented player. And that whole section there kind of reminded me, it had like that neoclassical vibe, with the scales that he was using there. But it, again, that sweep picking stuff's no joke. And there was a lot of like the really fast alternate picking lines, like sustained alternate picking lines, which was probably, if I was going at this to try to play it, that was probably the easiest, was when he has like those sustained like tremolo picking lines where he's just picking really fast and he's moving the notes a little slower, but it sounds really fast because it's picking hand. But there was some notes in there when he kind of slowed it down to a little bit of the more melodic phrasing, but then he would do like those quick triplet alternate picking lines that are not easy. It's not easy to sync your left and right hand to do those quick lines when you're coming out of a more melodic phrasing and sustained notes. And so he crushed that guitar solo. I actually want to take it back. I want to hear it again. It was interesting to hear when it was programmed in the last video, but actually getting to like see someone do it and hear it on an actual guitar, it was more interesting to me, and I see how much more difficult it was to actually pull it off, because it's one thing to program things out, right? So obviously the original solo was done. Dan did the previous video where he programmed it out, and then this guitar player from Dan's band had to then go and either figure out his own thing or learn one of those two solos. And the solo that he put out that I just heard was killer. Absolutely ace. That's what I was talking about with the tremolo picking. Yeah, so you hear those quick little lines in there. Those aren't easy to throw in. Yeah, let's go. So that drop into that section there where basically all the instrumentation cuts out until it sounded like horns and maybe like a cello or something there. But that was super cool where it all just drops and then that low instrumentation mimics the vocals there. So good. And even like in the guitar solo, like this song is well written, man. Like he's playing these sweep picking lines and they're doing, drum and bass hits together and it's creating all this space for the sweep picking stuff to really shine through. It's it's just well written, good stuff. Well, not only well performed, it was flawlessly performed, but it's just well written. Like there was thought that went into the writing of this. This was not some accident. Like great musicians thought this up, put it to tape, and put it out there. This was songs like this don't happen by accident. So I love it, man. Everybody here is crazy talented, and I'm sure the guys in the original Rhapsody band that put this together were crazy talented as well. But man, this group of folks in this video, ooh, so good. I would be worn out playing this song. Look at them. They're sweating. Hold on, he's doing. I was just talking about how worn out I'd be, and then you see the dude. He looks like he's sweating up a storm. God bless. Bro, I feel you, man. I'm sweating just listening to it. I don't know how you played it, man. Woo. Dude. Woo! So good. All right. We got to wait through and see if there's anything going on here. Shoo. Man. Hey, I honestly enjoyed both of those. They're vastly different, right? Obviously, you look at this one and be like, oh, well, the production quality's higher, this and that. But you also got to think that they're like 7 years apart. And so obviously, Dan has grown as a musician. He's got his guys in his band from Fearless. They've been playing together a lot longer now. So, I mean, obviously, it would be the natural progression of things that this would be better in some people's eyes. But I look at it honestly and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like this second one, it's crazy how far he's come in his production quality and mixing, mastering, and all of that stuff, video directing, camera work, all that stuff. It's crazy how far he's come. But I look at where he was and I'm like, man, what if he it was never good enough, right? So what if he's like, oh, well, I just got to finish this thing in the studio, or it needs to look this way, or I need my audio to be this certain thing, or I got to get a band to play this, and he would have never put that video out, and it may not have put him on the trajectory to where he is now. And so I really respect both versions. And honestly, it's just made me have just a crazy appreciation for this guy and the musician that he is. He's the real deal. All right, y'all. We've seen them both now. What do you all think? Do you have a preference on which one you think is better or you'd rather listen to? Like I said a second ago, I've got mad respect for both versions, both for their own different reasons. These guys in Fearless, that is his band, and the guest singer from Rhapsody, Fabio, they were killer, man. We all knew Dan was going to hit regardless. Like he was going to be a showstopper. We already knew that. But I had no idea that these other guys were as talented as they were. The stamina that it took, and that was just shooting a music video, right? Like they had to go in and like actually physically record this song in the studio and all that. But then even just shooting the music video of it, where you're taking it in bits and pieces, I'm sure they may have had to do it several times. Like the stamina that it took to play a song like that is crazy. Like that's not something that you just step into. You're like, oh, I'm just casually gonna play Dawn of Victory. That's you gotta work for that. Like you gotta stay in shape. You gotta keep your chops up, because you're not playing a song like that on any of those instruments without keeping your chops up. I do love that the horns made another appearance. I hope they were in the original song, because I've been stuck on that. I've said it probably like, I feel like I've said it like 10 times across the two videos, but I still think that the violin and the horns being in the song it was so cool to me how they blended it in, and it just worked like it was always just meant to be there in a metal song. Dan's vocals, incredible. So cool that he got to sing with one of the people who really influenced him and shaped him as a singer and a musician. That's the dream, to just meet your hero and make a music video with them and cover one of their songs and they sing it with you. That's really, like, to me, that's like a huge stamp of approval for Dan, that this guy from one of his favorite bands, that Fabio was able to come in and not only, it's not like dropping a comment on a YouTube video and being like, oh man, cool cover or something like that. Like, it's a true, I feel like, endorsement of what Dan was doing with this song, that he was willing to put his stamp of approval on it and be a featured artist on his own song, which is crazy, man. So that's just an awesome story, just an awesome come up for Dan, from where it started 7 years ago to where it got to and where he's continuing to go. I know he's almost at like 1 million subscribers. Again, I hope he gets there sooner rather than later and gets to celebrate that, because it's all well earned, all well deserved. Wish Dan nothing but the best and can't wait to hear more of his music. Thanks again to Linda, one of our patrons, who requested this. So glad that I got to do it. Definitely opened my eyes to the world of Dan Vasc. Now I'm like Steven, I'm a believer too. So all it took was 2 videos and you got me hooked. He has a strange way of doing that, it seems. All right, y'all. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time we drop new content. Appreciate you all, and as always, see you on the next one.